Well, my friends, it appears as though Adepticon is here, and so too are announcements related to Battletech, and there is a very, very big one that's being dropped. This also has a lot to it as well, so I'm going to try to give a brief rundown as to why this is huge news in the opening. A game of armored combat, the box set released prior to the first major tabletop Battletech Kickstarter that really relaunched the setting, is a very big cornerstone for the development of the game moving into its modern form. It was the first example of the Anthony Scroggins-styled art direction, in terms of the mech's overall appearance, which the game has flourished under. And it is the first example of the new plastic miniatures that fed the hobby in a major way. This was the first real step towards the game experiencing the revival it has had since it has appeared. This, however, was now 7 years ago. I know, time flies. A small refresh was put out in 2024 to coincide with the 40th anniversary as well, but this didn't change any of the mechs on board or really any of the rules either. The A Game of Armored Combat box set, though, is not something that has forever been set in stone. This is, in essence, the starter set for the game. It opens the door for new players, and importantly has also helped people build up their collections. Every successful game system uses one, though the cycles around these launches tend to vary from game to game. It looks as though A Game of Armored Combat's time in the sun is finally at an end. You'll usually find that new editions for games tend to have new sets. Battletech doesn't really do significant edition changes very often. However, there have been rumblings of some movement in this respect for a while. For those who took part in it, or for anyone who paid attention to the rules tests from late 2025, will know something has been on the horizon on this front for a while. While it's not officially a new edition per se, there is a major rules update and revamp that is inbound. Much of what makes Battletech, well, Battletech, really never shifts, and CGL is right when they say it's not a new edition. But there really is a clear evolution inbound for the current rule set. Compared to other modern gaming systems, though, this would most definitely not be considered a new edition. I still might refer to it that way for simplicity's sake, however. So, announced today is frankly something extremely exciting. Following up on their playtesting, a new rulebook and a new starter set are coming out. But most excitingly of all, a brand new replacement for A Game of Armored Combat is coming. It's genuinely hard to put into words just how into this I am, so let's go over the 3 big announcements, which is really just one huge announcement. Of the 3 things that have been shown to us that are coming down the pipe, surely the biggest for established players of the game is the core rulebook. I often talk to the current line developer, Ray Rastia, who joins me on streams from time to time, and something we've talked about over the year is how the rules for Battletech, while there are small changes here and there for them, have not really had a major revision since Total Warfare really dropped, which was approximately, I believe, about 2 decades ago. Battletech, contrary to what some folks claim, does go through rules changes over time, even within Total Warfare, as it has had some alterations since its initial launch. However, CGL's opted to really dig into the classic game and to look towards something that has some more sweeping reconfigurations than usual. Some of the playtested materials from 2025 did make it in, such as tragically the simplified torso rules. However, a lot of what was tested did make it in, which frankly were a lot of good quality of life changes. Ultra autocannons finally being worthwhile and not being a liability is huge, for instance. Of course, With the announcement of new rules, there is always anxiety. For those worried that you'll need to replace your TROs or map sheets, don't be. The game has not changed so wildly that any of these have shifted, but the game will have changed enough that a new, unified book really needed to be put forwards. So, after a half year of public playtesting by the wider community and the Catalyst demo team, we're going to see this bad boy drop. As an aside before I forget, there are a few record sheets that will change. But this only impacts mechs that used the Bombast laser or the Watchdog CEWS. This means literally 99% of the game's current units are 100% compatible with the rules changes, with nothing needed on your end to alter them. I got a chance to talk to Ray a bit about their intentions behind the rules changes they've been looking to make, too. And it was fundamentally important that any changes made didn't really alter the current core element of the game, while trying to improve upon what's already there. I suspect it was also important to him that people didn't feel compelled to think that their prior mechs, which they'd picked up because they liked them, were somehow invalidated, or changed broadly for the worse. Battletech doesn't operate on a 3 to 5 year cycle of rules, and they want people who have bought in to continue to be in. This is an extreme aberration for industry standards, at least in terms of the more competitive companies in it. And it's also a relief. But, enough of what's coming in that sense. Let's touch on what I think about it. I was in favor of just about every change in the public test from the last year. Everything from making ultra autocannons viable by removing jamming, to changes to cumulative PSRs. I'm really there for it. I'm going to be interested in seeing if there have been any further changes since the tests too, before the final rule set made it to print. Everything I saw in the beta was about improving the experience that Battletech already offered, at least in my eyes. So this all coming to the fore is fantastic. And best of all, it's improving things without invalidating what people already have, which is what I alluded to before. I really have to stress this because I have played a ton of tabletop games throughout my life, and I've been there between edition shifts, which this of course isn't, kind of. So this approach just really makes me happy to see. I love Battletech for being what it is, and everything I personally have seen really just makes me think of these as quality of life changes. We'll see if that opinion changes when I get the book in hand, but overall, I'm here for it. I should probably mention the new book is called the Core Rulebook. This gives an idea of where it's intended to be situated amongst products. I'm pretty sure it's going to displace the Battletech manual, and in many ways it should be replacing at least elements of Total Warfare. But yeah, it's called the Core Rules for a reason. This is going to be the primary book for the base game and how it's intended to work. The biggest thing attached to the book from Catalyst in their promotion of it really is how it is heavily linked to a mission section, which is a new, shared framework that is intended to allow players to easily create a variety of scenarios. It's meant to work for quick games, but also for more complicated, broad scenarios. The tools here are here to really just make that happen. Them focusing on new missions is a huge plus. Rather than being named the Beginner Box, or Essentials, as other entry-level kits of the past have been, CGL has chosen to make a minor name change to this new set, simply calling it the Starter Box. It's the successor to the 2 prior sets. The thing that really has me excited about these boxes dropping, outside of them having expanded starter rules of course, is really down to the mechs within. Let me go over what I think of this, just looking at it. With the starter, you end up with 2 Ilclan era battle mechs. One has appeared several times so far, both in premium cast and in plastic, which is the Hammerhead. I think it's arguably one of the best mechs to appear during the Dark Age and Ilclan era. And it is a Seafox special. This fantastic brawler is great for giving new players a taste of hardened armor, and just having a sticky mech that's hard to remove. So obviously, I think it was a really solid choice overall. The other one is a fascinating pick. They went with the Konito, and I think this square-off, after finding out about this pairing a bit earlier today, is amazing. This is a Ghost Bear-built little monster. Its melee action really will push people towards getting stuck in later campaigns. These two mechs clash extremely well against one another, and offer a variety of learning experiences for new players, or even if someone's a veteran and is getting exposed to these machines for the first time. Essentially though, it is tank versus DPS, and it lets people really experience different playstyles while both mechs still have a decent movement profile. I'm just talking through my thoughts here when I examine the box, by the way. This is kind of how I examine stuff for videos at a surface level too. So in other words, I'm just trying to say I'm definitely happy with the direction of the starter. I really do also hope that the people who get their hands on this and dig into it for the first time have a great time with it, because these two mechs are really awesome. It's also nice seeing a Ghost Bear mech in the set too. The biggest announcement on the miniature side of things, and really on being the new, true entry floor for new players, and for people to expand their current forces, is of course the announcement of the core box. While the starter gives people a taste, just as with the current arrangement of things, the new core set is the real dive-in point for new players. CGL's clearly directing its resources towards really embracing the late Dark Age and Ill-Clan era, which absolutely makes sense on multiple fronts. The last 7 years has really explored a ton of mechs from 3025, 2750, and 3058. Well, this was the right call to put these units into the thick of the fighting, just because it reflected a lot of the earlier eras of the setting that the majority of veterans really remembered. It is great that they are moving into something a little less familiar, that has a great visual flair. The mechs from 3025, 2750, and 3058 aren't going anywhere, of course, but with these new boxes we're getting into the latter eras of the setting, and into one TRO that never really quite gets the attention it deserves. It gives people access to some spectacular designs that people really haven't seen much of from 3055, 3067, and of course from the Dark Age and Ill-Clan eras. All the same, let's go over the box's other features before we feast upon the mechs within. It's got a brand new primer, which is going to be awesome, I'm sure, touching on the latest era of warfare, I suspect, and it's got a lot to go over in terms of introducing people to the current massive array of factions in the game. Of course, it's got a basic set of rules to use as well, just like the Get Started rules of the current A Game of Armored Combat box set, though adapted to adjust them to the newest iteration that is being released at the same time. The biggest attraction for me, though, is on the model front. I'm of course already going to pick up the new core book, so that'll have me covered with the rules regardless. And I'm pretty good with the lore. These are great features for new people, but for me, and I know for many of you, the big draw is the battle mechs within. And oh man, what a roster! Legitimately, some of my favorite machines are within this new set. First on the list is the Hollander. I covered it years ago now, but it's an amazing mech. A walking Gauss rifle designed to destroy clan attackers. It is simple and destructive, all while being a mere 35-ton light mech. It has a ton to offer on the tabletop. People always talk about the Lyrans as being assault or heavy mech driven, but they have some of the best and most innovative light mechs in the inner sphere, and the Hollander, in my opinion, is one of them. But do you want to know what's most exciting to me? The Hollander visual design I personally fell in love with was a fan art piece done years ago by the great Alan Blackwell, who's done a ton of commissions for me over the years. While this new design is not that one, the redesign within the box was handled by none other than Alan Blackwell. Whoa, this new Hollander is fantastic, and absolutely matches in with the art direction Battletech's taken. I already want more of them than I can afford. I genuinely love the Hollander, and seeing this amazing glow up brought a smile to my face the first time I saw it. Huge shout out to Alan for doing such amazing work. Next up, another mech I covered years ago when my videos were in a much more primitive state. The mech of course I'm talking about is the Rakshasa. A lot of people have been asking for the Temu Timberwolf for years, and seeing the full-blown bastardized redesign is fantastic. It really looks sharp. I believe Anthony Scroggins himself handled this one, and it looks great. It still embodies a lot of the traits of the original design, or has elements of them, while being something that's more of a legitimate successor to its description. The original Rakshasa was said to be built on the Marauder chassis, and now that really shows. The legs and even some of the torso feel very Marauder-like. The cockpit placement and arrangement is also much more Mad Cat-like, albeit done by people who weren't as sophisticated as their clan counterparts, which is exactly what you would expect from the discount variation of it. The Rakshasa and the Hollander both made their original debuts in Technical Readout 3055, the first TRO I ever owned, and it is still my favorite TRO to this day. I'm so glad to see both made it into the roster. Oh, and I can't wait to just see these models on the tabletop for myself. I am extremely excited for this, and I'm just trying not to even swear while recording it because of how exuberant I feel. So, what's next? Let's go over two fan favorites that people have been asking for forever. The much beloved Uzziel. Famously the poster child for Mechwarrior 4 Vengeance, is finally coming back, and this time it's in plastic. While its core configuration of weaponry leaves a bit to be desired, this stocky little monster has really picked up a huge following. Not just because it's such a key mech when fighting over Kentaris from now multiple decades ago, but because it just looks like a really cool machine. If I remember correctly, Anthony put this one together as a redesign as well. I'm really hoping this little guy gets its moment in the sun from the community. And it looks so much like the video game iteration of the mech that I really think people are going to love it. It's another Lyran mech too, so Steiner fans are eating great in this box set. One of my favorite clan mechs ever, and another machine to make its first appearance in Mechwarrior 4 Vengeance, is the magnificent and mighty Mad Cat 2. I really think as far as clan mechs go, I only love the Warhammer 2C more than the Mad Cat 2. I enjoy it that much. It's just a bigger, beefier Mad Cat. It's a chonky wolf. Whether it's a better mech or not in terms of raw gameplay is up for debate, but on the visual, and just how it handles in video games or on the tabletop, it suits me and always has. Visually, it's not a massive evolution, nor should it be. The Mad Cat 2 is one of the most beautiful designs in the franchise's history. Even the sculpt from Ironwind Metals still largely holds up, despite a few proportions being a bit wonky. And, also, in spite of it being an ancient piece. If anyone can't wait for the box set, I definitely recommend picking it up. Some assembly is required, though. This new iteration of it has mostly just been brought in line with everything else. I do also love the new cooling vents just above the main chassis though, and I absolutely love the improved look of the missile launchers. This one's a huge W, in my opinion. It also, just to be frank, is the mech alone that sells this entire box to me personally, just because, as I said, it's one of my favorite clan mechs ever. It's one of the box's 2 assault mechs to boot, and man, it's a great monster to see in here. Next up, and coming in from Technical Readout 3067, is a little-known terror, and a great match for the Hollander. The Solitaire also bears a great deal of resemblance to the Pack Hunter in how it fights as well. And for anyone who knows what that entails, they'll know something truly vicious has entered this box. A clan light mech with extremely heavy armaments, this little monster can rip through much heavier mechs, all while dancing around the battlefield trying to avoid getting caught. I think a lot of people are going to love it. It is a glass cannon extraordinaire. The redesign also looks authentic to the original look, and once more brings the art in line with the current visuals of the game. It's a cool mech to see end up in the box. For anyone who doesn't know, I love the Mad Dog. It is, in my opinion, the ultimate clan war machine, and I love the fact it started off as a Smoke Jaguar mech. It's their real legacy, And a part of that legacy is the fact that several iterations have come out of the Mad Dog since its introduction, including the Mad Dog Mark IV. First introduced during Mechwarrior Dark Age, it has a very cool looking set of missiles, which almost look like they're a vertical launch system, with little doors and everything, but it's incredibly cool looking. These things are pretty awesome on the table too. The new look for it is superb. The 3145 artwork is hard to beat, so they clearly just modernized the design to look more in line with everything else. The 4 overall has the appearance of a more aggressive Mad Dog, and I'll go as far as to say I think this miniature looks better than the current Mad Dog even, in terms of its overall visuals. Again, CGL's been hitting almost all the mechs I really wanted to see in this box, and this legacy of war, this spawn of the Smoke Jaguar's curse on mankind, is no different. We're into the final stretch now. Only 2 more machines remain, both of which appeared first in the recognition guides of the game, and one is a genuine favorite of mine, while the other is still pretty amazing. First of all, there is the Heiress. This is my favorite mech to appear during the Ilclan era's rollout. Medium mechs are my jam, even if the channels ended up covering the heavier bracket more often over the last few years. This is a scourge on the tabletop. I really mean that. It can leap up to 7 hexes due to its partial wing system, and it's got a snub-nosed PPC and MMLs, typically armed with SRMs. This allows it to just shred things when it gets in close. This is the Wolverine perfected in my opinion, and it is the ultimate export of the purple birds. It's genuinely fantastic. Anyone who gets their hands on this thing is going to fall in love with it fast. Even clan mechs aren't safe from it. As for how it appears, it was introduced under the current art direction, so it's not really changed at all in terms of how it looks. I think overall it appears better than the premium one that's available, just in terms of the profile and posing. But we'll need to see the physical, plastic miniature when it arrives before I pronounce that it is better than the current model. Still, this is one of the mechs I'm most excited to see in the set. It's such a brilliant mech, visually and in terms of pure crunch. It's a spectacular choice. Ironically, it's really a successor to the Wolverine, which was in a Game of Armored Combat box, so it's fitting to see Kalon's next generation mech in there. And finally, we've got the new face that runs the place, the very cool and bulky Regent. This big monster is front and center on the Ilclan era artwork we're seeing so far. It's a popular design, and a new one created by Anthony Scroggins. As a miniature, it's appeared in plastic before, as a part of the Grey Death Legion Force Pack. It is shockingly a heavily armed assault mech that can rip through most of the things it runs into. It's a Seafox Omnimech design, and is really proliferated throughout the Inner Sphere. Being in the inventories of every major nation, the new model is of an alternative configuration to one in the GDL Force Pack, lacking the giant right shoulder cannon. It's still a magnificent piece, and appears to be intended to go toe-to-toe with the Mad Cat 2 in the box. Overall, it's a really fitting choice to get into the set. And there you have it, literally every single miniature to appear across the new core set. A diverse array of awesome mechs to give people something different. While I'm excited for all of them, as I mentioned, the Mad Cat 2 and the Heiress are the 2 big highlights for me, though the Mad Dog and the Hollander are beyond exciting too. It's great. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. And so there you have it. As of the time of making this, I have no idea what the MSRP is going to look like for any of these sets. I have an approximate guess, but there's a lot of chaos in the world right now regarding shipping, oil costs, and other things. And all of those will have an impact on imports and exports depending on the product and region of the world. But those are all things I'm sure we're going to get to later. For the moment, I'm just really jazzed at the announcement. Not a single mech out of the lot seems misplaced. So that's everything for the news. That's the big reveal. That's all the cool stuff that just got announced. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this news announcement, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, it really does help. As per usual, I would like to give a huge thank you to all of the YouTube channel members. This is all only made possible because of viewers like you. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Randall Bills. Randall was kind enough to give me a heads up a few days in advance of the announcement in order to piece together this to inform you guys. I don't work for CGL, this isn't sponsored by them either, but I really do my best to keep people informed as to new launches that I think are important, especially if I'm interested in them. It's great to get the word out here for people to see what's coming on the horizon. So with all of that being said, what's got you the most interested? Is it the new rules? Is it the new box sets? Is it the Mad Cat 2, objectively the coolest mech they could possibly put in the box? Let me know in the comments section below, and I will catch you all there.